Largest and most terrifying wildfires in the history of the United States. The first is Chinchaga Fire, 1950. Location: originated in British Columbia and Alberta, Canada, with smoke effects felt across the US and beyond. Acres burned, 3.5 million. Cause: deliberate slash and burn land clearing by logging companies. The fire grew out of control due to unusually dry conditions and high winds. Environmental impact: the Great Smoke Pall created an atmospheric phenomenon, with heavy smoke crossing into the northern U.S., causing daytime darkness in some areas. This led to reduced visibility for days and a measurable drop in temperatures. Aftermath: this fire is considered one of the first instances where the global impact of a wildfire was observed. Its effects led to increased discussions about fire management and air quality concerns. Second is Great Fire of 1910. Location: spanned northeastern Washington, northern Idaho, and western Montana. Acres burned, 3 million. Cause: a prolonged drought dried out the forests, and a series of small lightning and man-made fires merged into a massive inferno. Hurricane-force winds, up to 70 miles per hour, spread the fire uncontrollably. Impact on people: 85 people died, including 78 firefighters. Entire towns, such as Wallace, Idaho, were destroyed. More than 8 billion board feet of merchantable timber were lost. Firefighting efforts: over 8,000 firefighters, including soldiers from Fort Missoula, battled the flames. The heroic efforts of the firefighters, particularly those who died protecting towns, became legendary and fostered public support for fire suppression policies. Legacy: it directly influenced the U.S. Forest Service's development of fire management policies. The event spurred the establishment of the National Forest Fire Protection Fund and greater federal investment in firefighting infrastructure. Next one is Texas wildfires, 2024. Location: centered in Hutchinson County, Texas, but fires affected surrounding counties as well. Acres burned, 1.1 million, Smokehouse Creek Fire. Cause: severe drought, dry vegetation, and strong winds combined to ignite and spread fires. Some fires were human-caused, including accidental ignition by farm equipment. Environmental and economic impact: large swathes of farmland and ranch land were destroyed, affecting the state's agricultural output. Wildlife populations were decimated, and ecosystems were severely disrupted. Air quality across Texas and neighboring states reached hazardous levels. Response: federal disaster relief was declared. Firefighting efforts involved local, state, and federal teams, including aerial suppression with helicopters and planes. Long-term consequences: ongoing soil erosion and loss of grazing land have prolonged recovery efforts for ranchers. Calls for improved wildfire preparedness and drought mitigation measures were amplified. Fourth is August Complex Fire, 2020. Location: Northern California, primarily within Mendocino National Forest. Acres burned, 1.03 million. Cause: a series of lightning strikes during an intense heat wave sparked multiple fires that eventually merged. Firefighting challenges: the rugged terrain and extreme heat hindered firefighting efforts. Limited resources due to simultaneous fires across California stretched responders thin. Pandemic-related restrictions complicated evacuation efforts and firefighter accommodations. Destruction: over 935 structures were destroyed. One firefighter died, and several others sustained injuries. Thousands of residents were evacuated from rural and small town communities. Significance: marked the first time a single wildfire in California exceeded 1 million acres. Highlighted the growing threat of climate change to wildfire severity and frequency. Fifth wildfire is known as Oregon wildfires, 2020. Location, statewide, with major fires including the Beachy Creek, Lions Head, and Holiday Farm fires. Acres burned, 1 million. Cause, a combination of arson, human negligence, and natural factors, exacerbated by strong winds and dry vegetation. Impact on communities. Thousands of residents were displaced. Entire towns, like Detroit and Blue River, were heavily damaged or destroyed. At least 10 fatalities were reported. Environmental effects. Massive smoke clouds blanketed the Pacific Northwest, creating hazardous air quality levels for weeks. Ecosystems and wildlife habitats were severely affected, including critical salmon streams. Response. Over 7,000 firefighters were deployed. Federal and state emergency funds were allocated to aid recovery. Aftermath. Oregon implemented new wildfire risk maps and stricter building codes for fire-prone areas. Number 6. 2017 Montana Wildfires. Location, across the state of Montana. Acres burned, 1.3 million. Cause, persistent drought and a series of lightning strikes. Notable fires. The Lodgepole Complex Fire, which burned over 270,000 acres, was among the largest. Economic impact. Extensive damage to ranching operations, with thousands of cattle lost. Tourism and recreation industries suffered as popular destinations were closed. Significance. Highlighted Montana's vulnerability to drought and fire cycles. Led to increased investment in fire prevention programs. 7 is British Columbia Wildfires, 2017. Location, British Columbia, Canada, with smoke impacts in Washington and Oregon. Acres burned, 3 million. Details. The fire season was the worst in British Columbia's history at the time. Smoke caused severe air quality issues in the U.S., with cities like Seattle experiencing hazardous conditions. Significance. Underscored the interconnected nature of fire impacts across national borders. Next one is Dixie Fire, 2021. Location, Northern California, affecting Plumas, Lassen, Tehama, Butte, and Shasta counties. Acres burned, 963,000. Cause, faulty Pacific gas and electric equipment. Impact. Destroyed the town of Greenville. Over 1,300 structures were lost, with damages exceeding $620 million. Legacy. PG&E faced lawsuits and increased scrutiny over its infrastructure maintenance. Calls for undergrounding power lines intensified. 9th is Mendocino Complex Fire, 2018. Location, Northern California. Acres burned, 459,000, comprised the ranch and river fires. The ranch fire alone became the largest individual wildfire in California history at the time. Efforts to contain the fire cost over $200 million. And the last one in the list is Okanogan Complex Fire, 2015. Location, Okanogan County, Washington. Acres burned, 302,000. Cause, lightning strikes during a severe drought. Impact. Hundreds of homes were lost. Firefighting efforts included over 1,200 personnel. The event prompted Washington to improve its wildfire response systems. That is it for today. Stay safe and subscribe for Top 10.